So if there's one character that's always getting shit in the Power Ranger franchise over the recent years, that is Troy Burrows from MegaForce and Super MegaForce. Now, I kind of feel sorry for this character because this character was set up for great things that never happened, and we're going to go over those great things that never happened with the character because there's a lot of interesting behind the scenes stories when it comes to Troy and MegaForce and Super MegaForce. Now, Troy might come off as your boring leader of the Power Rangers with not a lot of personality and much to offer to the characters and the fans, but he's got a deeper backstory than you know about it. Do you know the reason why he was kicking that water bottle in the first episode and doing that special training in that one episode where he's kicking all those plastic bottles and cartons? That's because his family was killed by plastic water bottles. He set out to find revenge on them and avenge his family. I can't do this, No, that's not the case. Troy isn't out to get revenge against plastic water bottles and stuff like that. That's a joke theory by the fandom. I thought I'd just run with it. But hey, let's get to the serious stuff about Troy and what he was destined to do in MegaForce and Super MegaForce. So when we first meet Troy in MegaForce, he's basically your generic leader set to lead the Power Rangers to victory and stuff like that. He's got less personality than Plank from Ed, Edd n Eddy, and he's not that interesting because every episode that was centered around him was your basic generic, don't do this, do that, I'm the leader, I'll morph, stuff like that, blah blah blah. Troy wasn't a very interesting character in MegaForce and Super MegaForce, and a lot of people mostly blame the actor for this, Andrew Gray, but that isn't really the case. If you watch Andrew at conventions like Power Morphicon and stuff like that, he's a really cheerful and up there guy. He seems like a great guy to party with. I'd have a beer with the dude, but people mostly blame the actor saying, oh, Andrew's boring, he's got no personality, he's wooden and stuff like that. That wasn't really the case. My excuse and my defense for that is you do whatever the director tells you to do, and that's what the director and the producers told Andrew to do all these wooden lines, to make him sound boring and uninteresting. And like I said, if you go watch a panel with Andrew on there, he's a really upbeat guy who seems like a lot of fun, so I mostly blame the director and the producer for why Andrew had to be so wooden throughout MegaForce and Super MegaForce. I mean, that's what happened behind the scenes and stuff like that. That's one of the many production problems that MegaForce and Super MegaForce had. I mean, don't get me started on all the problems that series had behind the scenes. Oh boy, we'd be here for an hour, but I don't blame Andrew for his wooden performance. I mean, it's mostly the director and the producer telling him what to do. So what was the original plan for Troy? Well, according with writer James W. Bates, he had this to say about what his basic original idea for the character of Troy was going to be. Troy is special. He was almost like a chosen one. Troy was almost a magnet that brought Gosei to choose these kids. Him being there was almost like why the others got chosen because they were at the same school. Was he plugged into the Morphin Grid? All these things were talked about. Troy actually had a father he moved into town with. So yeah, it sounds like the writer had big plans for Troy eventually down the line, but like I said, producers and creative control, they probably got in the way of Troy's character development and just wanted him to be a bland, generic Red Ranger, and that kind of sucks because Troy could have been a lot better than, like I said, he could have been a lot better than what we got in the finished product, because it sounds like that the writer, Bates, had a lot of plans for Troy, but that never happened. I mean, do you remember when Troy nearly went Super Saiyan? Yeah, that was meant to be him getting some sort of spirit powers, and those spirit powers would be flooded throughout the season. He would get hints of it, he would probably be learning how to control it and stuff like that, and eventually it would pay off. But no, they just come out of nowhere in that two-parter, and it's not really explained or brought up ever again. He just punches Robo Knight in the chest and everything's all good. So that Super Saiyan scene that Troy did in that episode, that was meant to be built up and paid off eventually, but it just came out of nowhere in the finished product. So yeah, it's a really weird moment when you think about it, especially seeing it out of context. But that moment where Troy goes Super Saiyan, like I've said several times, was meant to be built up throughout the season, and it never got built up, it just came out of nowhere. And yeah, that's pretty much the story of Troy from MegaForce, who was set up to do great things that never happened. Anyway guys, that's pretty much the end of the video. If you enjoyed this video, slap that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and turn on the notification bell because it gives you notification bells whenever I upload a video or post something in the community post. I don't know what the notification bell does entirely, but turn it on because it helps me, helps you, all that good stuff. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day or night. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out and thanks for watching.